Today, we're going to be talking about a brand new game coming to crowdfunding. It's a game with some area control, dice drafting, bright colors, a questionable name, and no doubt some very, very big names tied to it. Yes, we are talking about WROTH over on Gamefound. I'm going to grab my tea and let's get to it. Alright, so before we get too far into this crowdfunding preview, I did want to say I feel like I've heard, a little bit of rumblings from at least my own community as far as this game goes. Name, questionable. We talk about it over on the Discord as the game with the name we do not speak of. I personally do not have an issue with the name. I think, I kind of understand where it came from in the design process, and I think it's cool. I don't have a ton of W games, so eventually when I put that list together, maybe this game will make that. Also, I think the other big thing is this game is bright. Very bright. But, to be fair, Manny has a lot of different, variety on his art styles. It's still very much him. And I still think the art looks fantastic regardless of the color scheme. But we're going to get into this crowdfunding campaign right now, and we'll see what this campaign has to offer. So, like I said, we're talking WROTH today. This is a collaboration between Manny Trimbley and Chip Theory Games. It is funded. It funded at 50,000. It's currently ticking up, over 86,000. We're already looking on that first. I think this is the first stretch goal, but we'll get to it. Some really cool WROTH emblems for the basic troops. I will get to this, but I think most of the prototypes had cubes in them, so I'm kind of glad that we're getting something a little more unique with these little basic troop pieces, and it would be cool if they're stamped, which I no doubt they will be. So let's get to this. Like I said, WROTH, 1 to 4 players, 60 minutes. From what I've heard from at least the community, this thing's gonna play, anywhere from 60 to 90, and on the long run, probably closer to 2 hours. But I don't think that'll happen too often. 14 plus. I do think this is probably one of the more approachable Chip Theory games. So I think you probably could sneak in, I'll definitely be trying to get my daughter to play this when it comes in, so I think she can handle a little bit asymmetry. But let's talk about this. So obviously we have dice, we have area control. It will be solo, cooperative, competitive. It'll have multiplayer, and like I just said, there will be some asymmetry to this. I think that's probably where a lot of your weight is going to come to this. I think from what I've seen, the mechanics themselves are pretty straightforward. So we'll keep on going. Just like I said, fantastic art, very bright, very vivid. I like the pinks, I like the turquoises, I like the golds. I'm pretty happy with what they're throwing out there as far as the art side from Manny. But this is a fast-paced, easy-to-learn area control game. This was a game, I don't know if we're gonna get too far into this, but this was a game that the main designer Manny Trimbley brought to Chip Theory Games as an area control game that he likes to play when generally he's not a big fan of area control games. I don't necessarily have an issue with area control games, but I do like to find different flavors. So I think this one will have that, especially coming from Chip Theory. But like I said, looks really, really good. First major shot of kind of how these components are going to go. As you can tell, very Chip Theory as far as the production quality, neoprene. I'm sure all of the components as far as dice and the little troops and little mini chips will all be just fantastic. So, what you can see is we have a lot of languages. I think that's fantastic. I think they were trying to do that with 20 Strong, and I think that's easy to do with something that has a huge appeal with a well-known game designer like Manny. So I think that was probably pretty easy to get some extra languages on there. First thing you could see is they're really pushing that $55 price point with an affordable flat rate shipping. Chip Theory has done that in the past. They've also offered free shipping, so this is obviously not a game with a huge price tag as far as where you're coming in at an entry level. So I think just a flat rate shipping was a very good call on their end. A little bit more about Manny. So I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but if you want to pause it and check it out. But I will say, not a stranger to Manny Trimbley. Dice Throne, got into it very, very early, preseason 2, so very familiar with that. I have some friends over on the Discord that have said wonderful things about Wonderland's War. I would love to pick that up. It just doesn't generally fit my gaming dynamic. So hopefully that changes in the future, and I'll pick that up. And then Radlands, a game that one of my buddies over on the Discord has. A couple of them have been talking about recently in the build-up to this campaign, so a little ironic on that front. But we will say, just scanning through this, 10 to 15 minute teach time, resources, deploy, move troops, 5 factions. Like I said, you want to check that out. Pause it. I'm going to keep going. So what is going to be in this core box? So Neon Soak Fantasy, I think that is a pretty good description of how the art theme goes for this game. So you'll have 5 PVC faction cards. You'll have 20 core gems, which is going to be the resource in this game. I believe that is a lot of it's going to be used to kind of get your your better troops, your I don't know if you necessarily call them heroes, but a little bit more powerful than the standard troop cubes you're putting out. And then 9 action dice. So 9 because this will play up to 4, and I think even with you playing cooperatively, the AI system will always use 1 dice. And look at that board. I like it. I mean, it looks a little sketched out. I could just imagine Manny sketching this out for his boys when they're learning how to play this game. If you do not know the full story behind the design of this game, you'll have to go check that out. Great interviews, but the short version of that is this was a game that he designed with his boys, trying to make an area control game that he enjoyed to play. We also have some chips. Those are basically going to be, I think there's more than what you'll use every game, so there's a lot of random variety as far as the game setup goes. It'll allow you to get Cora, just a lot of little different bonuses if you control those, as well as points. So very cool. All-seeing dice. I believe those are going to be faction-based. Each faction is going to have their own specific dice for them. It'll give them ability. I think they roll it. Every turn. What else we got? If not, I think that's an AI mechanic. So don't quote me on that. I have seen some of the gameplay here, but double-sided faction playmats. So I believe that is going to be the difference between like kind of your solo version and your PvP. Say solo, but that's also your cooperative play. 39 faction elite troop dice. That's kind of what I was talking about as far as those upgraded troops. Victory point PVC tracker card. There is going to be your only regular. Oh, I say only. At this point, stretch goals could change that. Only chip, regular size chip in this game. Obviously, you got the little microchips, but Chip Theory had to put at least a chip in there. And then we got a round tracker dice, first player tracker chip, AI chaos die, and then your hexagonal molded troop tokens. Like I said, I think those were just cubes in the prototypes that Chip Theory sent out. So kind of cool to see them a little bit different. And then your rulebook. You will need that for at least 15 minutes apparently. So the gameplay, like I said, area control. We'll show this out. You're basically going to be dice drafting. And then you're going to be deploying troops, moving troops, gaining resources. You're going to basically score at the end of every round, gaining those bonuses, gaining those points. And that's very, very simplified version of how to play this game. Obviously, you'll have quite a bit of asymmetry with all the factions. We'll kind of go from a high level and highlight those. I don't want to get too deep. But yeah, score points, 40. I know they're kind of messing with that. But we'll see. And there you go. A little bit more. I like these super animated visuals when they're doing crowdfunding campaigns. Chip Theory is usually pretty good about doing that to show off some of the gameplay. There is quite a bit of gameplay already out there, so definitely go check that out if you have more interest. Before you back, always check out some gameplay. I generally do before I buy. But it's clean, simple, dynamic. Got all-seeing dice along with action dice. Each faction has an all-seeing dice. It's rolled and used once per round. So that's kind of give everybody a little bit of a different strategy to lean into. I always kind of like that. And then troop types cost Cora. So get more Cora, get better troops. Get them out there. They'll probably generally stay out there longer than your regular troops. And then you got some single feat abilities. I think that's the card. You use it once per game. Probably kind of just a massive, kind of like your ultimate dice, but you just use it once. So Faction asymmetry, I definitely, from what I've seen, it leans pretty good into that. I think that's probably going to be the biggest hurdle as far as playing this game, is knowing what all the factions can do, knowing how to play against specific factions. I usually do like an overview when I'm playing, like especially a PvP game with something like that. Hey, tell us a little bit about your factions, so you can kind of keep that in mind when you're playing the game, and nobody's taken like by complete surprise. I feel like that's kind of the worst thing about playing heavy asymmetrical games is, wait, what? You can do that? I had no idea. But yes, solo and co-op features. So from what I understand, and I will touch a little bit on this later in the video, I have had a little bit of interaction with Chip Theory on this specific topic. But this is something very much still in development. The PvP game is what Manny brought to Chip Theory with, I think, very simplified solo version, and they really, doing what Chip Theory does, leaned into that and wanted to make it a better solo and cooperative experience. So I don't think they're going to highlight so much as far as that goes, but they are going to show that. I know there's specific scenarios. I know that you'll use a specific, different factions will obviously probably have different abilities as far as how they interact with you like they would in the PvP game, but it is basically going to be, a little bit scenario driven as far as what I can tell, as far as the setup goes. And then, yeah. I'll keep going down. Video coming soon on how to play solo co-op, so I will definitely be anticipating that video drop. But I do believe they did highlight that in the stream several weeks back, so that the actual gameplay is out there if you need to see that before you back. I'll probably throw some links in my description, so if you want to find those videos faster, hopefully that helps. But we do have the rewards, so a $55 base game pledge. The main thing to think about that is you are only going to get 5 factions. WROTH All Gameplay Bundle will give you 7 factions, and then there's an all-in. That's a pretty big jump. Myself, I'm sitting somewhere between the All Gameplay Bundle with maybe adding some of those deluxe troops on. You know what I'm talking about. So that is at least where I'm sitting at. They do offer stretch pay. I'm assuming that since they're quoted out per each pledge, there's no minimum. I know like a lot of stretch pays on Gamefound will have like you have to hit a specific price point before you qualify for stretch pay. I'm gonna guess since those are out there, if you were looking for a strategist pledge, they're already gone. So don't worry about too much about that. But like I said, we got some stretch goals, at least 3 out there. Looks pretty standard so far, but we'll see what they really have once this campaign kicks into gear. Like I said, this has only been going for about a little over 30 minutes at this time, so there will be a lot more to kind of dive into as the campaign goes on. But there's kind of all of your single add-ons. Those WROTH metal tokens, as I was talking about, are $35. Each faction is $20 add-on, so if you don't feel like you need them both and you just want to like maybe round it out with a 6, you could do that. I'm kind of looking at those going. A lot of the art I've seen as far as promotional art going into this campaign is a lot from what I've seen, those expansion factions. So I was on the fence, I think, before the campaign. Now I'm pretty sure that's a definite do for me as far as what I back at. We do have some more videos. I watched a few of these, and I will tell you the correspondence I had with Chip Theory was in regards to a comment I left on Board Game Co's video as far as the not really showing too much of that co-op solo experience, and I'll get some of those thoughts later in this video. But here we go. So we get the 5 factions as far as what you're gonna get in the core box. The Coda, it's a shed your moral coil and become grizzled. I will say I'm not gonna completely read into all of this stuff, but I know that like Grizzled's a very powerful elite troop, so that's probably going to lean a little bit into their strategy. And then you have 2. I know, like I said, every one of these is going to have 2 sides. Your artwork's also going to be different. The next one is going to be the Alden. If I'm pronouncing these wrong, apologize. Beauty in battle, order and precise create perfection out of chaos. That sounds very intriguing as far as how they're going to play. A little bit like elves. Here we go. The Runin. So full of resolve, as strong and immovable as the rocks they dwell within. And then we got the Guild, shadowy operatives who leverage Korra for an edge on the battlefield. That sounds cool. Like I said, very, very dynamic as far as how all these factions are going to play differently. That line alone tells me a lot about, you know, the asymmetry in this game. And then I think the last one is the Uglon, pale horrors who spread like a virus. So that is, it's going to be fun. Very fun, and I feel like not a task to learn all these factions. And I'm kind of comparing that to other chip theory games where you have a lot to learn when you either switch a character like in Too Many Bones or switch a faction in Cloudspire. I feel like there's already a lot of asymmetry in chip theory games, so it's cool to see, you know, asymmetry at maybe a lot lower complexity. Flat rate shipping. So flat rate shipping is going to be $10 in the USA. Order whatever you want. That's crazy. I like that. So I know going up to that $85 whatever it was for the gameplay all-in pledge and adding those metal resources. Not I say resources. That's generally what they are. Metal troops is not going to fluctuate my shipping. That is cool. Also, may add some stuff. There's always chip theory stuff I want that I don't just go order on the website. So this is always a good opportunity. Some of those little expansion contents for some of those other games. We'll be doing that. Alright, so I think that is pretty much it other than your disclaimer. I am going to go show off the other two factions before I forget, though, because we got Choose Your Awards. What was that? 86. Close on that gameplay on. So let's go down here. Let's look at these add-ons. So you got the Paladin faction. And they have a gleaming armor, thick shields, and an iron will. So, like I said, these one-liners are pretty telling as far as how these factions are going to lean, at least. Definitely come check these out. You want to dig in a little deeper on these factions. This one also, the Vena faction. Like I said, these are just, I feel like I've seen that artwork everywhere at promotionals. Like, how do I not pick up this faction? It's, you know, it's getting, you know, spotlighted. Exiles and outcasts proficient in spells and incantations. So, you know, magical faction. I don't know how that's going to work. I am anxious to see more gameplay on how these factions kind of variety plays into the game. But let's go back up to the pledges and I will give you some additional thoughts. So the biggest appeal, you know, name aside, color scheme aside, the collaboration between, you know, a great publisher, a great artist, a great designer. I think the biggest thing that appeals to me, and I feel like this is a little bit why the comment I made earlier, is the flexibility of this game. I'm going to have friends that are going to want to play PvP, and they're going to want to smash each other into the ground. I'm going to have family that is going to be more into that cooperative puzzle, and then me, myself, I don't necessarily consider myself a pure solo gamer, but I do lean, you know, 60-40, 70-30 at times into solo gaming. So having that solo option with all the asymmetry, I mean, just the playability as far as picking one faction, pitting it against another faction. I love having that variety in games, especially solo gaming. You know, it just feels like there's going to be quite a few different puzzles and mechanics to kind of figure out. And that is, to be honest, that is one of the most compelling things about this game. It being a chip theory game, to me, obviously, is a huge plus. We all know I'm a chip theory fan. I won't hide that under the table. But also, it's a very entry game for chip theory. 20 strong was, you know, very entry level, friendly as far as from a solo gameplay standpoint. This is, you know, definitely expanding that, and I'm really excited. I'm going to guess at some point we could see a WROTH 20 strong deck. I don't want to lean too far into that, but I do want to pop up this comment real quick because I did make this earlier this morning when I was checking out a little bit of preview coverage going into this campaign. This is from Chip Theory Games. They say, we didn't put a huge emphasis on having content creators cover the solo co-op as it's in a very early state of development overall. We had a few folks cover it, but knew the coverage of these modules would be much more prototype state than the PvP. Essentially, when Manny brought us the game, there was one faction, the Uglon, that served as the only solo co-op opponent. pausing there, I think if you go look at the stream, I believe that's maybe who they played in that stream. Don't quote me on that, but that would make sense. Knowing our reputation and our audience, I appreciate it. We knew everyone would want to be able to play against all of the factions, and you know what? You're right. I don't necessarily know if this was Josh, Adam, whoever left this comment. You're spot on there. I would have been disappointed if I couldn't have played against all of the factions, but you know, obviously they're grinding away while the PvP was and still is, you know, got some tweaks, largely finished. We'll be showing much more on the solo co-op ourselves before making a really big push to have the media cover it. As we'd like to get more finished, balanced, and compelling state beforehand. One stop co-op shop, not board gaming and beyond solitaire. Will or already do have videos covering solo, though again expect a whole lot of things to be addressed that those folks didn't get to play with. In fact, we've already changed a number of things for the better compared to what we were able to play in this early prototype state. Hope that helps. So my response, and I'm not gonna pull this up, my response to Chip Theory was I was wondering if this would be on Tabletop Simulator. As you know, that's something we like to do over on the channel. We like to get the community playing specifically these newer games that, you know, they've either just been crowdfunded, have just been you know, delivered to backers, whatnot. I like to get different experiences from different people, not just myself, especially with the great community we have over on Discord. So keep that in mind. I did ask that. I'm hoping that will be the case. But going back to the pledges, I'm definitely looking at that ROTH all gameplay bundle. I think having 7 factions is really going to add to the content. I think only having one, especially, I don't know if I'll get to the point where I'm playing, you know, 4-player co-op or whatnot. Only being able to have like that one option for your AI enemy, that would be kind of a bummer. So that's kind of more why I'm leaving into that. And we'll see if I add those metal tokens, those metal troop tokens in on my pledge, probably late back, but we'll see what happens. But you guys definitely let me know what you think about ROTH. You like the name, you love it, doesn't matter what you think about the gameplay, and get over onto the Discord. Let me know. Like I said, great place for the community, great place to talk, great place for you to let me know your thoughts on all things board games, all things food, all things drinks, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Much love.